It's 1988. You're 8 years old, and you live in a stone village in the Khumbu Valley of Nepal, 2 days' walk from the highest mountain on Earth. In 36 years, you'll kneel on that mountain with a shovel and chip a frozen stranger out of the ice so you can carry her down. You don't know that yet. What you know is her name, not the strangers, the mountains. Your mother calls it Chomolungma, goddess mother of the world. A goddess lives up there, she says, in a palace of ice, riding a golden tigress. Her name means inexhaustible giving. She gives and never runs out. Hold on to that. You'll hear it again in about 40 years from an old man who says it like a diagnosis. You're named for the day of the week you were born, the way most children here are. Your people crossed a glacier pass out of eastern Tibet about 500 years ago, and the word for them just means people from the east. Most of them are farmers, traders, monks. Almost none of them climb. Because climbing isn't a job here, it's a trespass. The summit is somebody's house. You're 11 when a man in your village dies and you learn the second rule, the one that will end up shaping your whole life. Nobody in his family washes him. Someone else does that, someone whose job it is. And for days afterwards, people are careful about sitting near him. You ask your mother why. She tells you a dead body is polluting, touching one marks you. She says it the way you'd say fire is hot, no drama, just a fact about the world you now have to live in. You nod. You go back outside. You're 15 when you first walk up to base camp with a load on your back, because your father is a porter and there's no money in barley. It's 1995. The camp sits on a glacier at about 5,300 meters, a little city of tents, and above it, the ice pours down off the mountain in a frozen waterfall of blocks the size of houses. That's the Khumbu Icefall. Everything above has to cross it, and there's no way around, and the whole thing is moving. Some nights, you lie in the tent and hear it crack. Before anyone sets foot on it, a lama comes and performs a puja, a blessing ceremony. There's a stone altar, juniper branches burning green and sweet, flowers smeared on everyone's faces, and every harness, every ice axe, every set of crampons piled up to be blessed. No one steps on the mountain before this happens. Not one client, not one guide. You watch foreigners who don't believe any of it stand very still with flour on their cheeks. Even they won't risk it. Your first job is boiling water. It pays more than your father made in a season. You're 16 when the mountain has its famous year. A storm catches climbers high on both sides. 15 people die across the season, and the story goes around the world and becomes a book that sells millions of copies. One of the dead is a young man on the north side in Tibet. He crawls into a shallow limestone alcove at about 8,500 meters to get out of the wind, and he stays there. He's wearing bright green boots. For the next 20 years, climbers coming up that ridge in the dark will look for those boots to check they're en route. Nobody plans this. It just happens, the way the mountain turns people into furniture. You are 19 when you start carrying real loads, and you learn what your body is actually for. About 80 pounds on your back, up 2,000 vertical feet of collapsing ice, on aluminum ladders lashed end to end over crevasses that have no bottom. You can see, you do that 10 times a season. Some seasons 20, some men do it 30. The client whose tent you're carrying will cross the icefall 4 times in his whole life. 4, that's the number. Keep it somewhere. You are 24 the first time you stand on the summit, and it's the least interesting thing about that day. What matters is the man you're standing next to, who paid around $60,000 to be there, and who is now moving so slowly you can hear him thinking about it. Your base pay for the expedition is a few thousand, but there's a bonus if he summits about $1,500, paid on his success, not your survival. Sit with the shape of that. The company has arranged your incentives so that a man who is dying on his feet is worth more to you upright. So you clip a short rope between you and Hall. This has a name in the industry, short roping, and it's how unqualified customers come home alive. It's also how men like you don't. You are 27 when you take work on the Tibetan side and you meet the green boots yourself. He's exactly where they said. The alcove, the neon plastic, the knees drawn up. You step past him because the route goes past him and there is no other route, and you have a client behind you who is filming Lower down, there's a woman, American, died in 1998, going up without oxygen, lying on her side just off the line where everyone walks. The climbers call her Sleeping Beauty, which is a strange thing to call someone who spent her last hours asking people not to leave her. That year, a man comes back for her. He tried to reach her 9 years earlier and failed, and now he pays to return, wraps her in a flag, and moves her over the edge of the ridge where nobody photographs her again. Somebody had to carry her. That someone is always a man from your valley, and this time, it isn't you. You're 31 when they make you an icefall doctor, and this is the promotion, believe it or not. There are about 8 of you. Every spring you go into the icefall before anyone else, in the cold hours before the sun destabilizes the Cerix, and you build the route, the ladders, the fixed ropes, the whole road that hundreds of paying climbers will walk on. Then you maintain it all season because it keeps moving. Now the arithmetic, because this is the part nobody explains to the clients, every climber on the mountain pays $600 for the use of that route. Hundreds of them. That money goes to the committee that employs you. Your team's pay for the entire season for the most dangerous job on the mountain is around $3,000 a man. One of the older doctors has been going into that ice for 37 years. He isn't rich. He's just still alive, which up here counts as a career. Meanwhile, the Western lead guide on the same expedition, doing the same 2 months, takes home $30,000 to $50,000. You'll clear 10 if the season is very good, and that 10 has to last 12 months. He crosses 4 times. You cross 30. There's a reason the clients are comfortable with this, and it's in your blood, literally. Your people have lived at altitude for tens of thousands of years, and you carry gene variants that keep your blood thin where a lowlander's thickens, so you climb without the headaches and the drowning lungs that put them on oxygen. It's real science. It's also the excuse, because if you're built for it, then you're not working, you're just being what you are. And a man who is only being what he is doesn't need to be paid like a man doing the deadliest job on the mountain. You are 33 when the deference cracks. 3 famous European alpinists climb over a Sherpa team fixing ropes. Ice comes down, words are exchanged on the face, and by the time everyone's back at Camp 2, there are 100 men throwing rocks, and the Europeans are running for their lives with an American climber shielding them. Everyone argues afterwards about who started it. The part that actually matters is that one of the Europeans is reported to have shouted at a rope fixer, asking how much money he needed. That's the year an American magazine does the maths on your job, too. It compares deaths per worker against every dangerous profession in the United States, and finds that working above base camp on this mountain is roughly 10 times deadlier than commercial fishing, the deadliest civilian job they measure. Deadlier, the writer notes, than being an American soldier in Iraq. He gives your job a name in the headline, the disposable man. You are 34 on the morning of the 18th of April, 2014, and you're in the icefall before dawn with about 100 others, ferrying loads for the season ahead. Just after first light, a piece of ice the size of a building comes off the western shoulder. 16 men die, all of them Nepali, all of them working, none of them clients. It's the worst day in the mountain's history to that point, and you spend it digging for people you've known since you were 15. Then the government makes its offer to the families. 40,000 rupees, about $400, described as a contribution towards funeral costs. $400. The permit revenue from a single foreigner that season was more than 25 times that. So you strike. All of you. For the first time in the mountain's history, a list of demands, a refusal to fix the ropes, and a season that simply does not happen. Hundreds of clients fly home with $60,000 receipts and no summit. One of the widows will later say the only thing there is to say, what do you do when the main pillar of your house is gone? You are 35 when the mountain doesn't even need an excuse. An earthquake tears the country apart, kills around 9,000 people, and shakes a wall of ice and rock down onto base camp itself into the tents, at the place everybody had agreed was the safe part. Somewhere between 17 and 22 people die, most of them Nepali. The season is canceled again. 2 years, 2 cancellations, and every year you don't work is a year your children don't eat well. You go back. Of course you go back. There is nothing else in the valley that pays. You are 44 when the army hires you for the new kind of work, and the taboo you learned at 11 finally comes due. The government has decided the mountain looks bad. Too much rubbish, too many bodies, too many photographs of both. So they fund an operation into the death zone above 8,000 meters where the air holds a third of the oxygen your body wants to bring down what's up there. You find her under a crust of ice. You can't dig her out with tools alone because the ice is welded to her, so you wait for the sun to soften it, and waiting at that altitude is its own slow injury. You cough, your head splits, you vomit thin sour water, and keep going. A body that weighed about 80 kilos in life can weigh 150 when you finally lever it out with the ice still attached. Up there, on a good day, a strong man can carry 25, so you don't carry. You drag on a stretcher so the frozen limbs don't snap off. And it takes you and your team 24 hours to move her about 3 kilometers. You pass the place where 2 men died in the 80s trying to bring down a different body. And here's the thing you decide for yourself. Somewhere in that 24 hours, with a stranger's weight in your hands and your soul in the state your mother warned you about, you are not doing this for the fee. You're doing it because the goddess has been carrying your family for 4 generations, and this is what you have to give back. That's not the army's reason or the government's reason. It's yours, and it's the only part of this job nobody else has ever set the price of. You are 46 in 2026, and the machine is bigger than it has ever been. A foreign permit now costs $15,000, up from $11,000. Every climber has to carry their own excrement off the mountain in a bag. And there's a new insurance rule written because of exactly the work you did at 44. Everyone up there must now be covered for the cost of bringing a body home, about $37,000. Now hold that against the other policy. The life cover your family collects if you die working is about $15,000. Getting your corpse off the mountain is insured for more than twice what your living body is worth to the people who insure it. This spring, the government banks a record $7.2 million in Everest royalties alone. A man from your valley stands on the summit for the 32nd time, and the world calls it a record. An expedition is being organized to go and finally remove the green boots from the alcove because the story has become embarrassing. And an old man in your valley says the thing you've been waiting your whole life to understand. He says Everest gives them money, but money isn't everything, and that they are exploiting her and killing her. He crossed 4 times. You crossed 30. The tourists photograph the prayer flags at base camp and call them ancient. Nobody photographs the ladders or asks who went up and built them at 4 in the morning. About 340 people have died on this mountain. 1 in every 3 of them was a Nepali worker, carrying somebody else's tent. Your mother told you when you were 8 that the goddess gives and gives and never runs out, and you thought that was a blessing. She was right though. It was never the money that was endless. It was you.